Hey, what's up? This is Duskmost. Today we're going to be taking a look at the white gold. It's a coral shimmer effect by Recovery Effects based out of Seattle, Washington. It's really cool. It's hand built. Company's really cool. It adds like a really interesting crystalline sort of texture to anything that you put through it. We're going to check it out. This is Signal Colors. The white gold has 4 knobs and a bypass switch and a really cool geodesic dome indicator light that glows up in amber. The Lush controls the amount of incoming signal and it's slightly modulated and has a little bit of a texture added to it. Glimmer is an octave up that you can blend in with Lush, and Glow is fifths that you blend in. And then lastly, Level is the volume of the entire pedal's output. The switch is a hard switch, so yeah, let's give it a listen. Okay, so here I am with the Bastl Microgranny and the Recovery White Gold. And I thought this would be a good place to start because it illustrates, I think, pretty well what these different sort of layers do as you incorporate them and bring them in. They kind of stack, and it's an interesting place to start. So to get going, that's the sample I have, and you can see. Well, I'm gonna hold it. You can see when I have it going through the Lush here. That's basically the unmodified tone. So it changes a little bit, but it's the closest thing out of these three between Lush, Glimmer, and Glow to the clean tone. And we could probably match it a little better. Yeah, there we go. But what's pretty cool is when you bring any of these out, it completely cuts the signal entirely. So you can have a combination of these 3 different pitches essentially, or you could combine them, which I think is a pretty cool feature. So we'll bring in that one. So there's an example with all 3 being brought in. But what I think is pretty funny with this particularly is this is like the dad of a family singing. This is the mom. And then this is the kid. See a little family band. Anyway, shenanigans. All right, so the second sound I have here, I actually go ahead and bring this up. Sounds like this. Well, one of my favorite things to do is actually just manipulate these in real time instead of just setting it and forgetting it. So which sounds pretty cool if you ask me. So moving on to sound 3. Kind of a similar thing. I'll demonstrate here, but just a different tone. Less peaky, trebly stuff and a little bit more mid-range, which I think sounds really good. Or we can just set, just bring one in, kind of compare. Bring up the level to make it match a little better. Then you can do this rhythmically. Is kind of nice, but since it's a hard latch, I don't know, I mean, to get your timings perfect, it's a little, I don't know why, I feel like it takes a little bit more effort. That's probably not a real complaint though. So yeah, you could kind of just use this as like as a I don't know, like a pitch shift for something that doesn't have a clean jump from A to B. Because something like this, say for example, if I wanted to change the sample rate, it's kind of like how you'd get pitch. So yeah, super pleasing, super cool. Yeah, the white gold with the Bastl Microgranny. Okay, so here I am with the Analog Four Mark II with the recovery white gold, and I'm running the audio from the Analog Four track 1 only into the white gold and then back in the external ins. I mean, this is a little different example because it allows me to kind of blend in a little more with the actual clean tone, and you can control on the Analog 4, oops, how much comes in. So let's see, go back to, oops. So I'll say that's a good blend, but as you can see, the clean tone gold. Ooh, that's a little piercing. So just a little bit of the highest here, just glimmer only. Bring in some glow. And just a reminder, that's what we're working with. So that's kind of a cool way to bring in a little bit more of like a chord type sound, or almost a... Yeah, like instead of, because it only has 4 individual tracks on the Analog 4, and you can change if you want it to be polyphonic or not. Instead, you can run 1 track through this and get sort of a pseudo chord kind of vibe. So yeah, that really brings the sound to a completely different place running it through the white gold, which is definitely pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and try a different sound here. Let's see what we can do. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Sounds like it was clipping a little bit. It's probably going into it. And we'll just embrace it. So it actually is kind of doing a little bit of a like a lo-fi, crispy, maybe pitched distortion in this case. which I actually kind of like. I think it's kind of cool, and I wasn't expecting. I haven't really seen that. Yeah, I'd use it in that mode. That's pretty cool. All right, let's try another sound. Let's see what we got. And we'll do a little stabby thing. So yeah, there's clean. Go ahead and record a little something. Try another sound. Do that. Slow down the tempo. So that's clean. With the white gold. So there you go. There's the white gold piped into the effects chain, if you will, into the Analog 4. Okay, so here I am with the Ciat-Lonbarde Plumbutter and the white gold. And together, they are pretty interesting because I essentially use the white gold as a live sort of like master pitch effect, and I'll show you what I mean. And you probably saw it already with the Microgranny demo, but it's really helpful for something like this because with all of these knobs, there's no real clean way to sort of jump your kind of master pitch shift or octave kind of shift without, you know, kind of trying to turn a bunch of knobs at once and get them to the exact right spot. So yeah, this is a pretty, I think, real world example of how I would use this. Yeah, so let's go ahead and demo it. So this is what I'm working with. So there's our pattern. A little crazy, but that is the Plumbutter. So yeah, there we are with the clean tone. And when you engage the white gold, you get the kind of unaffected tone, but it sort of sounds like a gentle chorus, I'd say. There's with it clean. Which actually, I mean, that adds something to the sound, just bringing in the lush mode. But what I like to do is instead go with something like, maybe not this one. And so you can jump. I can just use my thumb. So yeah, you get the picture. But we can also play with, oops. You can play with bringing in the different versions. And maybe you can find a texture or kind of a pitch that you like overall and just sort of set it and forget it. To the deer horn section here, the tone I'm activating with my hand, it kind of turns it more into a chord instead of a single tone, which is nice. So in fact, we'll turn all the other sounds off, and you can hear a little bit better the secondary tone here, which is more of like a bass. But for example, so, well, there you go. There's just clean. And I guess you can kind of dial in what you want to be the more focused note of the trio and kind of pick your secondary and tertiary. Anyway, that could be practical use. Bringing in the other sounds. So you can see, as many guitar pedals do, the bass tone gets affected. See, it's much fatter and rounder prior to going through the pedal. Yeah, okay. You get the idea. So yeah, I think that could be pretty practical for something that you really want to shift the overall kind of octave or I guess just master pitch of. You could run through and sort of dial in where you want it to be, and then use this as kind of an on-off. Yeah, so there you go. There's more of like a full mix running through the white gold, which yeah, is good to see. So here I am with a little bonus round. As you can tell, I have the white gold here, but what am I going to plug it into? Well, the answer is actually nothing, because feedback from the cable itself actually produces tones in the white gold, which is super cool. So right now we have Lush on, as you remember, it's pretty close to what would be the more or less unaffected tone of whatever you run through it. But in this case, as you can hear, it sounds like a synth. Which is super cool. But you can bring in the different tones. It's a little aggressive, but I guess it works better as a drone in this case. You can sort of hear the way the waves kind of beat. So yeah, there's a white gold with a cable. It's a little nastier. So I'm really surprised by the white gold. It's really more than meets the eye. Yes, it adds a really cool crystalline kind of brightness to the sound, but being able to blend in the 3 different pitches with the knobs is super cool. I really like that you can control each level independently. I like that you can use it to transpose something that otherwise really wouldn't have that ability live, and that's really cool. It's built really well. It has that typical recovery effects, old school vintage vibe, and I really enjoy the plate on the front and the old school light on top. It's got that vintage flavor. I think the white gold is really well suited for synths, and I was really into how well it works in lo-fi and ambient arrangements, especially if you manually morph between the different pitches. I think really anyone could find a use for this and find a way to fit it into their setup.